Hey there YouTube, it's Tempest. I hope you can see this. It's kind of been a while since I posted a deck profile from my desk here. I got a new deck profile for you. Actually I have a couple new deck profiles for you. I've been accumulating some random texts and comments from our the NA Facebook group. So I got a couple new decks to share today. I've got this first one is a Murakumo deck. I started playing Murakumo recently. It's quite enjoyable. It's not the best deck, but this particular deck is actually quite good. So I'm gonna go over it. I'm gonna go through some changes, and then suggestions of other things you can play, basically. So we're playing Magatsu Storm here. So we start with, of course, the grade 0. It's a ride chain, so you got your Stealth Dragon, Magatsu Wind. This ride chain, what it does is when you ride the grade 1 on the grade 0, you search like any rank 3 ride chain. And when you ride the grade 2 on the grade 1, you can superior call 2 copies of the grade 2 from your deck. And then when the grade 3 rides on the grade 2, you can superior call 2 copies of the grade 3 from your deck. And at the end phase, both go back to your deck. And then the grade 3's limit break is you can counterblast 2 to give him 3k power, and superior call 2 copies of himself from the deck until end of turn. So basically, with this deck, if you hit the ride chain, you can commit you only need to commit grade 1s to your rear guards, and then basically for 3 or 4, even 5 turns if you get lucky, you can commit nothing, and then just have open circles, because you'll be having the you'll have the ride chain clones to commit to the ride chain. Now, there are some things weird about this deck. If you get any more than if you see any more than 2 copies of a certain part of the ride chain per game, you'll definitely be screwed up for the rest of the game, because you won't be able to call or do the whole call off the ride chain skill. Example: if you open with a grade 2 and you search grade 2 off of your starter's ability when you ride the grade 1, which is always a good thing to do, even if you already have it. It's still a good thing to have because it's free plus. And then on like turn 2, you or turn 1, I guess, on your opponent's turn, you damage check a 3rd copy of the grade 2. That's not really good, because then you can't get the most out of your grade 2's ability when he rides. So yeah, there's that. So it's kind of hard to mess. You have to be careful what you do when you redraw and stuff. Normally it's not a huge deal, but if you do see more than 2 copies of a certain card, it can get hectic. So yeah, that's basically the info about the ride chain. So with that in mind, I'll get into the rest of the deck. For triggers, I'm playing 7 crit, 3 in the normals, and then 4 of this guy. Put him into your soul, give you 3k. Not really worth it because you lose out in 10k shields. And then 5 draw, and then 4 heal. 7 crit 5 draw works really well for this particular deck, because of the extra grade 3 I'm playing. Normally in a Magatsu deck you play like 4 Magatsu and then 4 of another grade 3 backup, because if you don't hit the ride chain, it's really bad. This is one of those weird ride chains where it's like all in. If you hit the ride chain, you basically win the game because you get so much advantage from your hand. You don't have to commit anything to the field for like 4 turns. But if you miss the ride chain, well, it's really hard for this deck to come back, because you lose out on the 11k base of your grade 3, and you lose out on your hand size because you have to commit a lot more to the field. So with that in mind, like normally when you do the pure like aggro, like all in hit the ride chain version, you can play 12 crit in that build. With me, with the backup grade 3s I have, I want to play the 5 draws, because it's like I'm playing Shiryuki actually, and Shiryuki requires Persona Blasts to get her effects to go off, so you want to have that draw power to help you get the Persona Blast. So yeah, moving on to the grade 1s, I got 4 of the grade 1 of the ride chain. It's not amazing, but it is a 7k, so there's that. Let me see about columns here. That boosting anything will really get you the 2 stages you need, because you don't really expecting to hit 3 stages with anything in this deck against. I guess you're expecting to hit 2 stages against everything if you come against a cross ride deck. If you limit break, you can still swing for 23 or 24k, so it's not a huge deal. So still a decent booster. For the 8k grade 1, for being a strong rearguard booster and vanguard booster if need be. 2 Leaf Raccoon. This is your 10k vanguard booster. Like I said, this deck's kind of the way I built it. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but the way I built this deck is this is like an all or nothing deck. Like if you hit the ride chain, you win. If you miss the ride chain, you kind of lose. So what the Leaf Raccoon does is he's your 10k vanguard booster. when you have more cards in your hand than your opponent, your Vanguard gains 4K power when he's boosted by this guy. So sorry. So the idea here is to hit the ride chain, don't commit anything from your hand, and then play Leaf Raccoon turn 2 and start putting the pressure on. If you draw more than one of him per game, it's okay. You don't really need it. You'd probably just want to keep it in hand or discard it or something. Now this isn't the only card you can play. There are other options. There's another 7K booster that lets you Counter Blast 1 to give it 1,000 power. I don't like that card. I don't think it's very good. Because it wastes your Counter Blast that you could be using for the other cards in this deck. Even if it's just like a solid 7K booster, like it's a solid is, so is the starter. I also like Oboro Cart. It's a 6K that lets you Counter Blast 1 when it's called to rearguard, and then Superior Call a copy of another rearguard you currently control, so it lets you Bushido or Buchin rather a rearguard, and then during the end phase, the unit you call goes back to the bottom of your deck. I was playing it, but he eats up Counter Blast, and he's only 6K booster. At least this guy has the potential of being 10K, so that's why I'm playing it. And then, of course, for perfect cards. Why wouldn't you play these? Now that break cards are out, you kind of have to. Alright, grade 2s. For Magatsu Gale, I already went over what he does. For Bloody Mist, 10K attacker. And then 3 Spellhound. This is a self-damage arrow of the clan. He's 8K, and then when he's called to rearguard, Counter Blast 1, and put the top card of your deck into your damage zone. This is another thing about the deck that I really like. Well, actually, I don't really actually like playing this card, but you kind of have to play it. This card lets you recycle your triggers, and it also lets you recycle any copies of your grade 3 Magatsu that could put in the damage zone, because you're gonna want those Magatsus in deck to keep limit breaking. So if you draw any more than 2 Magatsu grade 3, you're basically gonna lose. So that's helpful. It also lets you hit limit break sooner if the need presents itself. Yeah, not much else to say about him. He's just kind of needed right now. You can play other cards. There's other cards you can play. You can play like a Midnight Crow, which is the 8K grade 2 that lets you Bushido himself when he's called. You can play the 9K damage on Flipper. Yeah, that's actually really about it that you can play. Spellhound's okay. Not amazing, but you kind of have to play him, like I said. Yeah, that's all the grade 2s. And for grade 3s, I'm playing 4 Magatsu, because you kind of have to. Not only is he part of the ride chain, but his skill is, basically requires you to have 4 of him. Yeah, so again, his limit break is Counter Blast 2. He gains 3K power, and then you can Superior Call 2 copies of him from your deck. So yeah. Another thing I forgot to mention is that when you Superior Call copies of your grade 2 and your grade 3 out of your deck, it thins it out a little bit. So it lets you hit triggers slightly easier. So that's really helpful. And the last grade 3 is for Fantasy Petal Storm Shiryuki. What she does is her limit break ability is limit break 4, Counter Blast 1, Persona Blast, and then your opponent's unit that attacks her loses 20,000 power. So the main reason I wanted to play her was because I knew break rides were going to be a thing soon, and having that enormous 10K boost when an opponent's grade 3 rides on the break ride is just so strong. So yeah, she's really good for that. And the other thing about her is with the Leaf Raccoon, she actually lets you hit for 21. So there's nothing else about her except that she's 11K base, so it's kind of bad. Unless you have the Raccoon boosting her. The problem with that is it's once you hit late game, and she's your late game grade 3. If you miss Magatsu for some reason, you have to ride her. You have to just like turtle for some reason. Like you have to be careful when you play her. Because she doesn't really do anything. She just kind of sits there unless you have the Raccoon boosting her. Yeah. So all things considered, I've played her, I've tested her. I actually have found that even though break rides are a thing, I don't particularly like her skill. Mainly because it's the limit break thing. Like at least with Mandala Lord, you can use it whenever you need to. With her, you have to, use it when you have 4 damage. And by then you've probably already used like I don't know, your Magatsu skill like twice. Okay, so if you've used it twice and you haven't healed it, that's 5 damage. You have none face. Oh, you have 1 face up, I guess. So you only get to use her ability once, maybe twice in a game, and that's if you have the open Counter Blast and you have her Persona Blast thing to go off. Unlike Mandala Lord, she can't actually search other copies of herself with other like support grade 1s and 2s. So there's another grade 3 that you can play called White Furmane, or I guess it's called Platinum Blonde Fox Spirit in English. Tamamo. She gains 5k when she attacks a Vanguard if you have Limp Break, and then mainly her other ability is you can Counterblast 1 to Bushido a grade 2 or higher rear guard. So, my advice to anyone playing this deck, I think Tamamo is a much better card than Shiryuki, at least in this build. I'm going to post another deck later that actually has Shiryuki as the main Vanguard, which is really fun. But yeah, Tamamo I think is definitely better as a Magatsu backup Vanguard than Shiryuki. So yeah, that's my Magatsu Storm deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and comment, subscribe. Comment with any questions or suggestions, and subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you.